Hey, I'm Dave Ramsey. More than 20 years ago, I started a business from nothing but a card table in my living room. Back then, my company had one team member, me. That meant if there was a problem, it was my fault. And if the company had a huge win, well, the only person around for me to high five was myself. That's weird. And if someone screwed up, it was pretty easy to figure out who it was. It was me. But times have changed. Today, we've built a leading national brand and we have hundreds of folks on our team. And every one of those team members brings a totally unique and different personality into the company. I'll be honest. We started with the disc profile when we very first started to figure out how to communicate and work with all these men and women. It was tough. We realized with my team that just like in my family that people are different. And hey, that's a good thing. But as leaders, we've got to figure out how to understand people. And what's the best way to communicate with, say, your accountant? Or why does that leader always hurt that person's feelings? Those are the things that can drive you crazy. Once I discovered the DISC personality profile, started using it in my business in the early days, it really helped with that. The DISC showed me exactly how and why people are wired differently. It made me realize that my style isn't the only style. And hey, it's not even necessarily the best style in every situation. Plugging the DISC profile into our company gave everyone a common language, a home base for understanding each other. But it's not perfect. It is, however, the best starting point I've ever seen for truly building unity and cooperation among my team. I'm excited to share that information with you. And I'm also excited to introduce you to Chris Hogan, who's going to show you how the DISC works and how you can plug it into your company. Chris has been working with me for a lot of years, coaching business owners and leaders on how to grow their businesses and how to lead their teams. Before he ever joined our company, he owned and operated his own small business, so he's got plenty of hands-on experience putting this material into practice. Today, Chris is a nationally sought-after keynote speaker on topics like leadership and teamwork and personal finance, and he's also the host of the Entree Leadership Podcast, which pretty much sits at the top of the business podcast charts all year round. So get ready. This information is going to totally change your business, totally change your perspective. If you put this into practice today, you may not even recognize your organization or your team a year from now. Now that's powerful.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. How are you? All those that didn't know, you know now, don't you? You're like, is Darth Vader at EMS? Is that man? I was in an airport. I was in Atlanta airport flying, and I had two little ladies that were sitting there talking, and they saw me and they were pointing. And I'm talking on the phone with my wife. I'm telling her about where I'm going, and I had a little bit of time, but I was having to rush. And the little ladies kept looking at me and pointing. And I'm thinking, okay, is there something wrong, with me or what's going on? Well, as I got ready to leave, one of them leaned over to the other one and she said, I know who he is. And the other lady said, yeah, I do too. He's the man from that insurance commercial. Now, I didn't have time. I'm rushing off, right? I'm talking to my wife. But in hindsight, you know what I should have done? I should have turned and looked at him and done like this. Are you in good hands? And if it ever happens again, I'm going to be ready for it. But the whole area of personalities, I'm a former business owner, and I wish I'd have known this information years ago. Any of you? Because it changes things. It changes the way you look at things, at individuals. It changes even how you communicate. And I want to assure you that if you're trying to grow your business, if you're networking, trying to let people know about your business, if you are out dealing with vendors, the more you're able to understand other personalities, the more you're going to be able to understand that individual. And as soon as you can understand them, then it gives the opportunity to connect. So we're going to spend some time talking about the DISC profile, because I think as you lead your teams, as you guide them, and as Dave said, even as you hire, the knowledge you have about the different personality styles will allow you to fill that role even better than you ever have before. How many of you are married to a spouse that is the complete opposite personality style of you? Raise your hand. Look around the room, you all. Wow. Now, put your hands down. How many of you have kids that are all different personality styles? Okay, I have 3 boys, and I think they're all 3 Martians, okay? I don't know how they could come from the same DNA and all 3 be different. But here's the deal. In marriage, opposites attract. In business, opposites can destruct. So you look at that and you think about it, especially with however many people you have in your company. You may have 5 people on your team, you may have 50 or even more, 150. But think of all the different personality styles running around your business right now. And you're thinking, Chris, I'm trying to figure them out. And I know firsthand, like 8 years ago when I joined this team, we had just had our first child. And I thought, okay, this first child's coming. I've got this boy trained because he would just go to bed at 8 o'clock. And I thought, see, I'm a good dad. I know what I'm doing. I might need to write a book, okay? But here's what happened. We had baby number 2. He didn't get the memo. Okay, this boy was up till 12, 1, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't train the first child. That boy was just tired, okay? The second one came here with Red Bull pre-programmed in a system. And those boys, they run me crazy, you all, and the 3 different personality styles. And I know as the leader of the home, if I want to be a good daddy, I've got to get to understand them. Years ago, my wife was out of town and I was watching all 3 boys. I try not to let that happen too often, okay? But she was out of town and I went up to get them a snack. Now, they were all down in the playroom. I go upstairs, I'm going to get Kool-Aid and fruit snacks. You know, it's what kids run on these days. And I went up to get it. I was gone approximately 2 minutes. All of a sudden, I hear a scream and then I hear crying. I go downstairs, you all, and I just stand there. I'm like, what happened in 2 minutes? The oldest one is crying, the middle child is bleeding, and the baby run around the playroom butt naked. What happened? I wanted to call CSI, okay? Because you need to recreate this. I'm trying to get the story. The oldest one won't talk because he's crying, he's upset. The middle one's too mad to tell me, and the little one's just happy, okay? Skipping around the room, butt naked. And you think about that and you look, and I got 3 different versions of the story. And then nobody would ever fully tell me what was going on. You've got some of that going on in your office. You've got different versions of stories, different people's personalities, and you're thinking, as a leader, you have got to be able to stay connected with people. Understanding the personality styles is vital to winning. It's vital. And as you look at this, you think, you know what? I want to give myself an added advantage. And I think any leader that takes the time to get to know these 4 distinct styles, you give yourself an added advantage. Because how many businesses out there aren't taking the time to do this? So if you have some awareness of it, now you can begin to do something. As you know about this and as you look at it, it's vital for you to understand yourself. You've got to know how you're wired because it's going to allow you to be able to predetermine how you're going to deal with certain situations. Like I am a high D, high I. Okay, I look to get stuff done. How many D's are here in the room? Okay, quite a few. Goodness gracious. How many high I's do we have? All right, and high S's, and then high C's. All right, so we've got a plethora of all different types in here. I know about me. I know I look to get stuff done. For example, friends of ours in church were expecting their first child. My wife was out of town again. My buddy called me, he goes, Hogan, we just had our baby. I said, congratulations. What'd you have? He goes, it's a little boy. And he said, by the way he's looking at me, I think he's a little linebacker. And I said, that's a good thing. Okay, we'll headbutt him when we see him. Okay, so I'm thinking, all right, sweet. So I decide I'm gonna call my wife. I'm gonna relay the information. Guys, you've been here. Ladies, you've been here too. You know this conversation is not gonna go well, is it? Okay? My buddy called me, we were on the phone about 3 minutes. He said, Hogan, everybody's doing good. We had a little boy. Everybody's well. He looks like a linebacker. It was about a 2.5-minute conversation. I said, I can't wait to see him. I hung up. So I immediately called my wife. I said, hey, honey. She goes, yeah. I said, hey, I just wanted to let you know, Terrence and Kathy had their baby. And she said, well, what did they have? And I said, a boy. You know what's coming, don't you? It wasn't done right there, okay? If I'd have just hung up right there, I would have done well. I'd have been the man that day. But you all know what was coming. She asked me, what did they have? I said, a little boy. Then she said, what'd they name it? I was like this, huh? I was like, what'd you say? She goes, what did they name the boy? I go, oh, I don't know. She goes, you were just on the phone with him and you don't know what they named the little boy. I said, no, I'm sure it's like a boy name or something. That wasn't all. There was more questions coming. How much did he weigh? Huh? I was like, I don't know. He said he was big, so he big. That's what he weighed. How long is he, Chris? I don't know, baby length. I don't know. I don't know, okay? This call went on for about 3 more minutes of me saying, I don't know, because I didn't have a clue. Now, the conversation I just had with my buddy, who is of my same personality style, we relayed all the information that was needed, right? Everybody's doing well, had a little boy, and the boy looks like a linebacker. I'm good. I'm buying him a little helmet, right? I'm good. My wife, on the other hand, who is a detailed person, felt like she had gotten what? Just a speck of the story. She actually ended up being more irritated. I'd have been better off not to call. Now, I learned the hard way, right, after all those questions, because I felt like a complete failure. I'm thinking to myself, I need to create a form. You know what I mean? Because I'm getting these details next time, okay? And I tried that on a friend that called me and they had a baby and I'm trying to fill out the form. And he's like, dude, are you on 60 Minutes or something? He's like, why are you asking me all these questions? Because he knew it wasn't me, right? I would have got to the point. But I needed to go back and relay the information. And so here's the deal. We have people that are wired differently. And it's not intentional. My goal was not to frustrate my wife. And her goal was not to be frustrated with Chris. It just happened that way. Have you ever tried to get directions from somebody that's a different personality style than you? It's a train wreck, isn't it? I mean, you get out to go ask directions, right? And you go meet up with somebody that's chatty, okay? And you're trying to get somewhere because there's a function going on. And what do they start doing? Where are you going? Well, I'm running behind. I need to get, oh, where are you going? Oh, you're going there. I was there once back in '82. Okay, well, I appreciate that. I hope you had fun. But can you tell me the directions? Well, see, what you're going to do is going to go down there and, you know what? No, it was '83 when I was there. It wasn't '82. It was '83 because my wife, we had just had the baby. And you're standing there with your notepad and pen trying to get directions, wondering what has happened, right? And the flip side of it, you ever got directions from a C? A person that knows details? Oh, you better have a pen and pad, right? Because there's none of this just drive down there a little ways and turn. Oh, no. Drive 2.3 miles. You'll pass an oak tree. It looks dead, it ain't dead, okay? You're gonna make a left-hand turn, but don't drive too fast because you're gonna make a quick right. And so you sit there and you look and you go, yeah, the directions, that could be a train wreck as well. Imagine this, though. If you don't have the awareness, you're not gonna be able to understand your team. And it's important for you in business to have an added advantage. You as a leader who's communicating the vision, communicating the mission, you've got to get your message across to everybody. You've got to help them get it. And so that means as a leader, the responsibility is on you. And as business leaders, we all know, customers. Now, I know in business you all have dealt with a customer that has drove you crazy, okay? Some of you are breaking out into hives right now, just thinking back to it. But you and I know they're wired differently. And the goal for your product and service to reach that individual, you're gonna have to deal with people that are different than you. And so how do you do that effectively? How do you make sure your team is doing that effectively? First thing that has to happen is awareness. We just have to be able to look at it and say, everybody's not wired like me. And that's a good thing, okay? And for some of you, it's a really good thing. And so you think about it. So what I'd love for you to do is, if you don't have your disc out, pull it out. Because I want you to be able to look at this, and there's a couple things. We're gonna go to the bar graph in there, and as we talk about it, because I want you to be able to see it, okay? Now, as you're pulling that out, I also want you to understand that everybody processes information differently. Now, you look at that and you say, well, they're not trying to do it to make you aggravated. It's just how they're wired. In the baby situation, let's think about it. A high D is going to communicate that same information. A baby was born. But you look at it. For the decisive, that's what they're going to communicate. But you start to think, what about this interactive, this person that is more personable and they love people? They're going to know that everybody is doing well. They're going to know who the baby looks like. They're going to have information. The stabilizing, the S, is going to know that everybody's doing well, that we've set up meals for the family to make sure that everybody eats and that everybody's okay. And what about the C? The C is going to be able to tell you everything you need to know. They're going to tell you the height, the weight, the time of birth, if the baby was bald or had a head full of hair, what hospital they're in, and even the room, because that's how they're wired for information. So you look at this and you think about your disc profile. There's the natural and then there's the adaptive. And you all, some of you that have been through this, our alumni, you all know the deal with this. Your adaptive is how you are when you're being perceived by others. This is how you are in the workplace. This is how you want other people to perceive you. Your natural style is exactly how you are at home. And so when you're natural, you're sitting at home. This is when you're not on target. People aren't interviewing you and people aren't watching you, but this is how you would naturally process information. Now, we're going to deal primarily on the adaptive, especially dealing in the business world, because this is how you are primarily as you're dealing with your team and interacting with your team. But you want to look at that and understand that, yes, there can be a variance in the two styles. For example, for me and my adaptive, my D is a lot higher, okay? It's like 99, all right? You didn't have to chuckle at that, okay? But I love to get stuff done. But what happens when I go home? What happens to my D? It better come down a little bit, huh? Why? Because I'm not a dictator at home. I do have 3 young boys. I got a wife. And so you look at that and you can say, okay, that's why there's an adjustment there. And so you have awareness of it. Now, as you begin to look at this disc, please don't think of it as an end-all be-all. Okay, it's just a test, right? And it depends on how you answered the questions. So if you answered them in a rush, then it might be a little off, a little bit slanted. If you went back and you took an hour to answer the question as you were debating on it, okay, it may not give an accurate read, but it's just a tool. I can remember one individual, I went to go talk to a company, and the guy waited for me. He was like this the whole lesson, just looking at me. And so I was watching him, and I was like, okay, he's unhappy about something. So I did the lesson, and at the end of the lesson, before I got off stage, he met me. And he goes, Chris, I'm not happy. I'm like, well, that's obvious by that frown on your face. What's the problem? He goes, I'm not a beaver. I want to be a lion. And I stood there and looked at him, and in my head, I'm thinking, am I having this conversation with a grown man? Seriously, are we arguing about granimals as adults standing here? And I explained to him, I said, sir, I'm not saying that how you answer the question is exactly how you are, but it is based on your answers. But I said, it's just a tool. I mean, obviously the guy had a little bit more aggressive nature in him to come up, right, and talk to me about it. So I said, go back, take the test, and you'll begin to see it a little bit clearer. So it's just a guide. It's just something to help you. It's just like any other tool you would get anywhere else. If you use it well, it can help you as you feed back and help people. So real quick, the decisive. This individual is a hard-charging driver who is task-oriented and first looks to problems. If you look at this from a business perspective, if you've got a high D in charge of hiring, as soon as there's an opening, you know what they're trying to do? Fill it. If it's 1:30 in the afternoon and somebody's leaving or not coming back or you've got an opening, they want it filled by 3 o'clock that day. They just want to get somebody in the seat. You know why? They can check it off the box and move on. And so you think from a hiring perspective, yeah, they're just looking to get it done. Not necessarily if that person has the exact skill set or not, but we're getting it done. It's not going to be an opening very long. But you look at the interactive. This individual is people-oriented. They're outgoing, they're generally concerned about pleasing people, so they first look to people. If you put a high I in a room by themselves, they may have a breakdown, okay? And eventually what'll happen is they'll start talking to themselves. They'll even answer themselves, okay? Because they've got to have that interaction time. They love people just that much. And I mean by that, they are the ones that know what's going on in your office. They are the ones that know what's going on with everyone else. And so you look at that and you say, yeah, do you really want a high I in charge of hiring? It could be dangerous, okay? And here's why. The high I is going to look to hire who? Somebody they like. If they like them, they're going to figure out, wow, this person fits the bill. This person, I like this person. They'll do a great job. They may or may not have all the skills required. But again, you think about that. They're hiring somebody they like. Now let's look at the S. The stabilizing person is amiable, stable, loyal, and does not like conflict. They are concerned about the pace. Is everything moving along? Is everything moving in the right direction? If we look at that same hiring example, an S is gonna look to hire somebody that they think will get along with everyone else. So they start to look at the team and they think, you know what, this person will get along with the team here. And so again, may or may not boil down just to the skill set or the ability, but now how does this person fit in with the team? Are we gonna be able to stay on a steady pace? And then look at the last, the cautious. Now this person is analytical, factual, loves details, and can seem rigid. Why? Because they absolutely love procedures. Now we think about that same kind of hiring scenario. If you have a high C in charge of hiring, it's not gonna happen fast. You know why? They're looking for the exact match, the perfect fit for that position. They're looking for the person with the right kind of attitude, right kind of skill set, and proven performance. They want to be able to see the proof of how this person has performed. And so you look at that and you go, yeah, the hiring process might go really slow. So you look at all of those and you start to think the high D, the decisive, is going to look to just hurry up. And I'm not saying all Ds are that way, but they're just focused on getting the job done. The Is are going to be more apt in hiring to hire someone that they like. The S is going to hire people probably that are going to fit in best with the team. Who's the person that I think will get along well with everyone else? And the C is looking for the best match. And so you kind of look at that and it kind of helps you understand, oh, okay, this is how they're wired. They're all a little bit different. Now, as you look at this, understanding the styles and adapting processes to reflect that understanding will help the entree leader win. Now, I say this because it was important for me. I didn't do this right initially, okay, about 12 years ago as I had my business. I didn't do this well because people, when there was inter-office conflict, you know what I used to tell them? Watch this. This is a D in action. Hey, Chris, so-and-so, there's this and that. I do like this. Just hush and go do your job. That was my management technique right there, okay? They didn't teach that in grad school.